We have to change the lights. We're talking about Slack and Salesforce. No, that's Jägermeister. Let's Google. Slack? I must Google. Okay, you know what? We do the Mac grapefruit. How about this? Well, boys and the toys. But there is a way more important topic that we also need to comment, of course, and some of you already expected that. What about the deal between Salesforce and Slack? Last week, or when you see this video 2 weeks ago, no, not exactly, 10 days ago, Salesforce bought Slack for $27.7 billion. Whoa, that's a lot of money, and some people think like, why and what the hell is that?
I want to know right now, with this acquisition, $27 billion acquisition of Slack, I think the key question is, are you positioned to take on Microsoft as the future of enterprise software?
Slack changes everything and makes Salesforce a whole new type of company, a company that is truly architected to work from anywhere. Now, we have already introduced Salesforce Work from Anywhere a couple months ago, you know that.
Yes.
But now with Slack, it really supercharges our approach and lets all of our customers re-architect their workforce to be truly from anywhere.
I want to comment on that because Salesforce is the tool that started my journey into cloud collaboration. In 2003, I had the first Salesforce account because I truly believed in this power of having no software, not being attached to a certain device and a certain place. This was actually also my touch point with cloud tools, because back then the only tool that would allow you to store data distributed was Salesforce. From that time on, there were hundreds of CRM tools emerging because now everyone wants to be like Salesforce and they allow you to store data online. And Slack is a totally different company than Salesforce. The Salesforce purpose back then was, of course, to support the sales division with information, and I always could see how this transparent information would help to fuel and speed up communication in a company. And we really have to look at the numbers as well and the outlook, what's there. Salesforce in a market value, we talk about 200 billion roughly. If we compare that to Microsoft, the big giant, being way ahead, we talk about, I think, something like 1.4, 1.5 trillion. So a gigantic number, so don't quote me on the numbers, that's roughly the amounts. But in 2007, 2006, so the time when like Salesforce took off, Microsoft was at that market value. And this shows, this huge scale shows this market that has emerged and that is still in the growth. And that's what Salesforce is after. And it's an industry standard by today that you can save your data in a cloud collaboration tool. In 2003, when I told people like, I have a database that's online and you can collaborate, and people are like, are you nuts? How can you do that? How on earth would you like, are you crazy? And I can say that this journey and this decision back then was one of the most important decisions in my business and my professional life, because this set the core for the journey we made. And that's the point I want to make. I cannot answer like in which direction it goes. I would just say Microsoft did a smart move by investing in Microsoft Teams, technically copying Slack. That's why Slack also tried to sue Microsoft for that and so on, for bundling, not for that, but for bundling Teams into the Microsoft suite. Slack, on the other hand, didn't have the sales power on that scale, and that was a smart move to now use that. Of course, it's difficult to now merge the two cultures, but I interviewed Stuart Butterfield a couple of years ago, and there is a YouTube video with him here in this channel. Maybe we can link it or we can show one quote.
I'm Christoph. Hey, nice to meet you, Stuart.
Nice to meet you, Stuart.
We try not to be too prescriptive about how people use it, and I gave that example of legal approved, which is something that evolved for us, but it also evolved. There's very, very similar things have evolved at many different customer companies, and those things, those best practices, we probably should share, so people don't have to stumble upon them themselves.
The point I want to make is he and strongly gave me the feeling, and also recorded a podcast with him about an hour long, that his vision is purely vision driven. So the idea behind it is to help people to make the workplace better, to make work better, to make better collaboration tools that help people to improve transparency and with that communication. And Salesforce also started with the mission, no software. So it was purely this idea of making it easier for people, not using SAP and complicated data, CRM data files and tools, but to have a simple tool. It became a gigantic tool now, but it's still this core idea. And this really strikes me how much these things, if they are done right, can scale. And of course, 200 billion is not 1.4 trillion, but as I said, Microsoft was back there in 2006, 2007, roughly, at the same value. And I truly believe that this race is not over yet. So we still, as I said also like 3 years ago, we are still at the beginning of this journey to the new workplace. So this will be very, very exciting to continue. And yeah, I think that was a smart move. It's now hard work for the leadership team at Salesforce and Slack to have this cultural integration. But I'd never interviewed Mark Benioff, but as I said, Stuart Butterfield is a very vision, very purpose-driven entrepreneur. And if these two merge their vision, this can be very, very strong. Let's just see what happens with Zoom, because there is no good video capability in Slack yet, but that's a different take. So that's one more reason to stay tuned and subscribe to this channel, because we will definitely comment on what happens in the next years, and there will be exciting stuff to talk about. Just forgot to say that. Back to work.